You mentioned a couple of artists, and you were talking a little bit about the sound of this album. And,
Yes.
Who are some artists that inspire you, past, present, or future, and inspire your sound as well?
I think it's a lot of it. I grew up listening. I wasn't really allowed to listen to a lot of R&B music when I was growing up. I think, at least not the current stuff. My mom was very much into, my mom was the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell generation, and my dad was very much the Sam Cooke, Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye generation. Wow. And I think, the combination of those kind of led me to gravitate towards, the Mary J. Bliges and then the Mariah Carey and still have that vocal power of Whitney and Alanis Morissette. I loved because she just didn't give a damn. She was just going to tell you how it was. Pink is another one that I love, Alicia. And then, once I got to high school, I started to study and pay more attention to the vocal arrangements and things like that. And so Brandy was definitely somebody I gravitated towards vocally. And that kind of sums it up. That's a lot. I know I listed a lot.
No, it's always better to give more than very little.
Yes, I agree. Less is not always more. Definitely, I'm definitely influenced by a lot of alternative chicks like Pink and Alanis, and I love Fiona Apple too. She's another one I really dig, and still that grovelly R&B sound of Alicia and of Brandy. I think the two of them definitely embody that.
You mentioned some of the producers and songwriters that you worked with, in developing this album. Can you mention, are there any artists that you worked with or that you want to work with before the album's fully complete?
I don't have any, to be honest. I think I got so much more out of this project from producers and songwriters and from myself even than I thought I would. I guess maybe I didn't set the bar high enough. I thought I set it pretty high, and then I surpassed it. But I think on this album, I don't have any features, and I think that wasn't deliberate at all. I wasn't biased or anything. But I've done a couple records with people. I've obviously been in the studio with J. Cole. I went in with Dr. Dre and I did a hook for Nas, and so there's a couple features that I'm on other people's projects, but there's no artist that I can think of right now that I'm itching to get in with for this project. I think once I'm out and more established and I'm connecting with my fans, I think I'll be able to kind of navigate where I want to go next with it.
Most definitely. One thing we don't want to forget, you're also a songwriter. Are you?
Yeah.
If you had, and I usually ask this of the people that make songwriting their regular part of their job, but I'm gonna ask you because you are a songwriter. If you had to choose between being a singer and a songwriter, which one would you choose?
Oh, singer, hands down.
Why is that?
Singer, hands down. Because for me, I'm new at songwriting, and so it doesn't come as naturally to me. But I also think that me, obviously, we're our own worst critics, and so I get a lot of times I get caught up in the process of the writing as opposed to the feeling and the ideas that I'm trying to get across. I think I do better conveying my emotions singing something to somebody than I do writing it down.
Okay.
I think that's more. I think what was always more powerful to me was the voice, not necessarily what the message was. I remember listening to Mary J. Blige songs when I was 9 years old and not having a clue what she was talking about. Not having a clue and crying, listening to my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think if I could pick, I would definitely be a singer before a songwriter. Absolutely.
Well, since you chose singing, anytime we have, singers come here on KEMPIRE Radio, we always ask them to sing a little bit of something. Can you sing a little something for us?
A tornado flew around my room before you came. Excuse the mess it made it. Usually doesn't rain in Southern California, much like Arizona. My eyes don't shed tears, but boy, they pour when I'm thinking about you.
Thank you. that has to be
You're welcome.
That has to be a record time because Lonnie Burrell was here on the show and he did it really quickly too. But you just went right into it, so you beat his record.
Hey, all right.
But you know, you're from New York City, and we were talking a little bit about your parents. How do they feel about you pursuing this musical career?
They're excited now. Well, my mother's excited now. My father passed away about 5 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But he was definitely a key supporter. I think he always wanted me to follow my heart and follow my dreams, but still, you know, stay grounded. My dad was from the Bahamas, so most Caribbean parents kind of don't really, they stay out of your business as long as you take care of your education. I think my dad was fine. He wouldn't have cared. I could have been a baton thrower as long as I went to college and got a degree. And, you know, I think, you know, that was my dad's main objective. My mom was always supportive. I think she was a little bit nervous and scared for me because I was a little bit of a rebel coming up, and so I think she was worried that I would, you know, go crazy and you know, have a stereotypical rock star life. And I think, you know, I've pleasantly surprised her, you know, with how grounded I've been and how faith driven I've been. And I think that, you know, she's very proud of me. She's very proud, and she's happy that I'm really going after what I said I would. You know, I never had any doubts, or at least any visible doubts, that I would not be doing this and not be great at it.
Most definitely. I mean, you're from New York City, but I know that you've moved out to California, right?
I did. I left New York for LA. It's temporary. I'm going to come back. I needed a change. I've lived in New York my whole life.
Yeah.
And this was kind of my big moment, my leaving the nest moment, you know.
What has it been like? How long have you been there already?
I've been here about 8 months. You know what? I've come to love it, but I think the weather has me a little jaded. I think it has me a little jaded. I love the beach. I love the outdoors. I'm big on that kind of stuff, and so it's been a very peaceful experience for me to be out here. And then, you know, I go back to New York once every month, every 2 months if I can. So, you know, I get to come back home and see my family and see my friends and, you know, remind myself why I moved and then come back to LA. But, you know, I get homesick from time to time. I do. I miss being able just to go to a restaurant and sit down and eat waffles at 4 o'clock in the morning if I want to, or just be able to walk across the street and, you know, get something from the deli if I want to. I got to get in the car and drive everywhere out here. So it's definitely a transition. But, you know, again, it's necessary for me for right now. I think creatively I've blossomed a lot more being out here than I think I would have if I stayed in New York. So I have no regrets about the move.
Well, that's good. That's good. Tell us a little bit, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, dating and things like that in regards to thinking about forever. But, you know, what is it like for a guy to go on a date with Bridget Kelly? What do they have to expect?
I'm a hard ass.
Uh-oh.
I am. I think, but I blame my mom for that because she's definitely, she's rough. My mom's rough around the edges, so she taught me to be the same way. But I have a really great sense of humor, and I'm very easygoing. So I think I'm no nonsense, but I like to have a good time. So I think anywhere that we go, anything that we decide to do, would be a lot of laughs. Probably some serious moments of reflecting on my life and my past experiences and his. But I think overall it's a good time. I try not to. I'm really trying to be less difficult.
Any terrible date moments that you recall?
Oh, terrible date moments. None recently. I think maybe terrible date moments. About a year and a half ago, I was out on a date and I got some terrible news while I was sitting on the date, and I was really upset, and it became an argument kind of. There was a table sitting behind me, and he was, I guess, there was 2 guys on a date, and he got really upset at me because I guess I was being too loud and started screaming at me in the middle of the restaurant when I was upset, and I grabbed a steak knife, not with the intention of doing anything, but it was just the closest thing to me. It was bad. It was really bad. Needless to say, I have not gone back to that restaurant with that person ever since.
Wow.